Okay. Um, well, I'm going to share a little something with you about today. Um, Last couple of weeks, actually. I don't usually get this vulnerable, or this personal, I should say, with some stuff, but I feel like this is a subject that not enough people talk about. Um, and I felt like it was something that maybe I could share could at least help somebody feel like that they're not alone out there. Because I personally feel quite alone in this in some ways. Um, it's no secret that, I am living with cancer. I have stage 4 gastrointestinal stromal tumor, which is commonly known as GIST cancer. Um, but the topic, and being stage 4 is a weird thing with just cancer because it's kind of a chronic cancer in the sense that I could live 3 months, I could live 20 years, I could live 50 years. We literally will not know how much time I will have on each stage of medication and how each different treatments. Um, and as of right now, it's progressing. So, but that conversation is for another time. What I really wanted to get on topic about was living as a parent with cancer, and most notably, how fucking hard and ridiculously isolating it can be to be a parent with cancer. Um, Not in the sense that you don't get to spend time with other parents, because you obviously, there are birthday parties that your kids can go to. And we have parent friends and stuff like that, but it's different. It's like a different. It's. Parenting is fucking hard. No matter what your circumstances are, whether you're a working parent, a stay-at-home parent, anything of that matter, it's really fucking hard. And right now, I'm in the toddler stages of being a parent. I have a 2-year-old, and I don't know what my life would have been had I don't know what my parenting style would have been had I not had cancer, if I had a child when I didn't have cancer, but he's the only child that I'm ever going to have, and I've only ever been a parent to him with cancer. My recurrence happened while I was pregnant with him, so um, part of it, this the last couple of weeks, um, my husband has had to take on more responsibilities at work, picking up shifts and call and all that sort of thing. And normally that would be fine, but the last couple of weeks have been really difficult because we also had a situation where people who would normally take on caring for our son, when we feel like we're really in over our heads and need to take a break and send him to people to stay with, they haven't been available because of COVID. And while normally, like, that wasn't such a big deal, this was a time when, like, I really fucking needed a break. And then compounded by the fact that my husband's been taking on more call, And then compounded by the fact that we had to basically completely cancel a long weekend. We had planned like a staycation of just the two of us, some time to just kind of spend together. And my husband and my son have both been on sick. Um, One has a cold, and then the other has a cold, and then the other one has like other health symptoms that coming up, and it's been like COVID test after COVID test after COVID test, and mostly just because, especially with my son who attends daycare, and you know, it's only 2 days a week. I'm a stay-at-home mom the other 3 days during the week. And then on weekends, my husband's home with us. But when he's on call, we have to like be home, and it, it's been really frustrating. And the last couple days have been like insane. Last week is when I found out that it had progressed to stage 4. There was some suspect lymph nodes, and we weren't quite calling it stage 4 at that time, but it was suspected stage 4. We were mostly just like in the 3A, 3B area, depending. And then last week I got CT results that, yes, I'm definitely at stage 4. I have a completely new tumor on my lymph node, etc., etc. There's, other stuff involved with that. But everything kind of came crashing down in the sense that, like, I had no executive function after finding out that information. So while my kid goes to daycare 2 days a week, I also had to then be an active parent for a 2-year-old for those other 3 days that he was home during the week without support. And then add in call, which means that, like, if my husband gets called into the hospital for work, he's gone. And whatever reprieve I would get when he would come home was gone. And like I said, I don't know what my parenting would have been like without cancer, but let me tell you something. When you're in active treatment, even if you don't have like hair loss, the constant nausea, I mean, I have like a baseline of nausea, but it's not like the bad enough that I'm like vomiting all the time. And the one thing that I have is like just sheer exhaustion, and I'm still able to like, get out and go for walks, but lately I haven't even had the energy to do that. And I think part of that is because I just part of it's depression, probably. Part of it is like my shutdown of executive function. But like, just at the end of the day, once my husband walks through that door, like, I basically hand the kid off to him, and I'm like, I have to leave the room for a little bit and go do something by myself. And I hadn't been able to do that for a while now, like, just because of the constant, just being on call. But what was especially bad about the last few days is that my son got sent home yesterday, with having gone number 2 several times, and throughout the day, which is, for a toddler, like, that can be quite unusual, and it is especially for him. So they basically were like, okay, well, you need to do a COVID test in order for him to come back on Monday, which, of course, we're going to comply with that. But the thing is that, well, on top of that, he fell right when I got there. He fell off the slide, got like a huge egg on his head from falling off the slide. Was like in hysterics when I was there. getting him cleaned up and like all that stuff, and plus, all the loose stool diapers and like all this stuff. And so I'm like, well, crap, because the next couple days my sister is having like goodbye lunch with like my parents and then my immediate family with like my husband and our 2 year old. And it was going to be like a lunch where we all get together and say goodbye because she's moving across the country. And we probably won't see her again until like Christmas. Well, the more that I thought about it, I was like, well, crap, that probably, like, we are going to need to get, a COVID test. And while I don't necessarily think it is COVID, like, it's probably our safest bet to quarantine him. Well, yesterday when we got home, he was like, let me tell you, if I, this kid can throw tantrums, he can throw down like any 2 year old you can possibly imagine. Normal, right? Well, yesterday was just like anything that I had ever seen before. Unlike anything I'd ever seen before. He was just so, like, he was almost mean. And, like, I hate saying that because I know that 2 year olds can't be mean. But it was just, I was losing it. I was absolutely losing it after on like the way drive home from school, and then when we get home, and we even gave him Tylenol to try to help in case he had a headache, and just we also gave him like some soothing foods to try to help with his stomach. He didn't have a number 2 diaper again the rest of the day, which was like, okay, that's a little weird. And then today he woke up, and it was like he woke up and he saw somebody like murder his dog in front of him. Like the entire day has been just like a scream terror fest the entire freaking day. And I've tried to give him Tylenol, like I've given him like other stuff like ripe water to try to help soothe his stomach, and try to give him like really light foods and things that are easy on the tummy, and like just trying to be a comfort to him. But then he starts doing things like when I'm trying to change his diaper, like try to kick me in the face, and then he'll come and jump on the couch and then intentionally lay down on his back and try to kick me in the face, and then like all this other stuff. And it just got to a boiling point where I spilled over, and I just was, I had hit my breaking point. And it got to the point where I just like screamed right in his face. And I felt like the most horrible person in the world because he was in hysterics. And as soon as my husband, and of course my husband had an appointment after work, so he was, coming home late. And I just lost it on him. Like my son. I lost it on my son. And like, and it was just screaming the rest of the day. Like, that is not something that I would normally, like, I'm not usually someone who's like that, and cancer has turned me into this person that I don't even recognize, and I am, like, horrified by it, because I'm screaming at a 2-year-old. Like, he has a choice in how he's behaving when he doesn't feel well. He has no way to, like, regulate his emotions in the same way that an adult can. Like, if I were acting like that on a day that I didn't feel well, it would be considered irrational. And frankly, I did start acting like that. And I'm taking a step back and being like, holy shit, this needs to stop. Something needs to happen where I cannot do that again. Because it's just, I don't even know what to say. There's just this point where you realize that so much of what is happening in the way that you act is directly related to how cancer has changed you. And I am horrified by the way that I parent sometimes because of it. like the screaming and the yelling and the inability to sometimes control my anger. And while I see a therapist and that does help, and I even have like a support group that I talk to, um, and it helps a little, but I'm not kidding. Like, I'm the only person my age that I know personally right now, who has cancer and is trying to parent with cancer. And it is hella frustrating. And I wish that there was more that I could do to help give me a break from, to step away before I get into that. And like, I know that I should separate myself from the situation, maybe like walk away and, try to calm down. But like, when you're sitting on a changing table and your kid is like flailing and with the intent to try to hit you while he's kicking his legs and stuff, your first thought is like, holy crap, you're gonna fall off this thing. And I mean, maybe next time I should just like stick a mattress under there and just let him fall, and then that'll be the end of that or something. I don't know. But like, I'm not actually gonna do that. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's frustrating, and I wish I trusted people more during this pandemic to be able to have like a nanny come and hang out with us during the day, or like even a mother's helper, even though like we're already in school season, so it's not like it's helpful like I would get anybody except for on the weekends. But like, there's only a handful of people that we trust right now to allow into our house, and not to mention that our dog is really not fond of strangers. um like, you have, there's only so much that I can do to for the expectation of other people during COVID. Like, I have my expectation of how I am what precautions I take and how I present myself, like when I'm out in public during COVID. And while somebody that I invite into my home, I have like a certain level of expectation of whether or not I can trust them during this. And right now, that literally I can count the number of people that I trust to let into my house right now on my hands. So other parents who are like really fighting right now, like really struggling, fighting cancer and struggling to be a parent without completely losing your mind, I see you. I feel for you, and God, I really wish that we fucking deal with this COVID thing so that we can have more resources available to us in all of this. And it's getting really dark out right now, so I'm going to get going. But thank you for hearing out my vent, and I appreciate, if you've made it this far, taking the time to listen, because like I said, I wish more people would actually talk about how hard it is to parent when you have cancer. So, bye.